Visitors forum?
Okay, the visitors forum?
It is 6 o'clock, and we begin this session of the Kerrville City Council. This time, I would like to ask you to stand for the invocation and for the Pledge of Allegiance. Father, in these council sessions, we deal with property and plans and policies. Help us to remember, with every decision, the people who are behind each of those items. Give us wisdom and discernment. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Be seated. Let me just mention a couple of things in regard to protocol. Let me remind you that you must be recognized before speaking, including the council, and this will allow everyone to hear and aid in the recording and reduce potential for confusion. Also, thank everyone in advance for helping by respecting these rules of procedure. Community interest announcements, and we're going to start with Mr. Cunhas, but these are not things related to the agenda, but something that is happening in the community that would be interest to us and to those watching.
All right, thank you, Mayor, and certainly want to say good evening to everyone. We have some very special guests tonight. We have some state champion guests, so we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. Certainly want to say welcome to y'all too. All right, just two items that I wanted to mention tonight. First of all, last Saturday was the opening day of Little League out at our Kerrville Sports Complex. That's always a lot of fun. Mike Keith takes a great photo every year. I never get tired of seeing this photo because of all those sweet faces there. And what I really like about that is you look at that photo, and somewhere in there, in that whole lineup there, is the starting baseball and softball lineups for Tybee and OLH in about 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years. So it's fun to look at that and imagine. Very important event coming up starting Monday. I know that this is a big deal at my house. It's a great chance to clean out some stuff. The bulk waste collection, we have 2 each year. One's in October, and of course, one starts next week. If you have some big items that you want to get out and put them out by the curb, the collection day, if you have a Monday collection day for your trash, you need to have them out by Monday, April 1st by 7:30. If you have a Tuesday collection day, you need to have your items out by 7:30 on Monday, April 8th. And then if you have a Wednesday or Thursday collection day, you need to have those items out by 7:30 a.m. on Monday, April 15th. There's a guide on the city's website. There's some things that you can't put into this event, so there's if you'll check us out on our Facebook page or our website, there's some pretty good information out there about what can and can't go in. All right, thank you very much.
We have any other announcements of community interest?
I have one.
Okay.
I just want to encourage everyone to at least try to attend one of the Footloose performances at the Calot. There's a star in there somewhere with a very small part playing a council person, but I got to tell you, there's about 30, 40 young people from Shriner and Tybee that just do a fantastic job of dancing and singing, and the adults as well. They look like real professionals. So I've had the pleasure of being at rehearsal every night, and it's getting better and better. So please, it starts 7:30 usually. I think this particular opening night is 6:30, but because there's a dinner for that as well. But anyway, 7 nights through this April 13th, starting this Friday. Thank you.
And Bill, I'd just like to do a shout out to both the Noon Rotary Club and Habitat. Rotary raised $30,000, and Habitat broke ground for that house this past Saturday.
Number 113?
113.
All right, good. That's great. Before we go to the Visitor Citizens Forum, I would like to say, members of the council, be thinking of funny childhood memories, because this council meeting tonight is very short. And I think if people just come and go home, they're going to feel like they didn't get their money's worth. So, all right. Any citizen with business not scheduled on the agenda may speak to the city council. You need to fill out a speaker request form, which is over here with the city secretary. The number of speakers will be limited to the first 10 speakers, and each speaker is limited to 4 minutes. All right, do we have any citizens forum?
We have 7 speakers.
Okay.
Sandra Yarbrough.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and citizens. Forgot. Sandra Yarbrough, 2245 San Jacinto, Kerrville, Texas, retired city employee, which I'm very proud of. After this past week, after much thought, I decided to come to speak to y'all. After watching the City Council workshop last Tuesday, March the 19th, and after receiving the multiple questions, comments, and feedback from neighbors, members at church, and people in the grocery store, I feel I can no longer sit by and not express my thoughts. City Council are the policy makers for the local government, known as the Code of Ordinance or policy. It is staff's directive through the city manager to follow and implement these policies. Some of these policies and codes are difficult to follow due to amendments made to codes and policies over the years by various councils. Several years ago, the city of Kerrville had the opportunity to better organize city code for clarity and direction, but was rejected by voters who were swayed by those who gave out incorrect information. In my 34 years as a city employee, I experienced and witnessed many other employees experience bullying and abuse from the public when demands or special requests were made and could not be granted because it would have been a violation of policy and code. As a city employee, it is considered to be part of the job and to handle these situations in a courteous manner while being firm but fair. Integrity, dedication, skill, knowledge, and experience is the culture and the character of the city of Kerrville city staff, from the entry level all the way to the top management. What I witnessed last week at this meeting was the straw that broke the camel's back when 2 council members were accusatory and insulting toward the city manager, deputy city manager, department managers, department staff, and other council members regarding the information that had been requested and provided for the workshop. Historical financial information is provided by staff that is correct and has been audited by independent outside auditors each year as required by law. Information provided to council by staff for proposed projects and proposals is gathered from reliable sources such as other governmental agencies or professional service providers based on documented data. To the city manager, deputy city manager, department managers, department staff, and other councilmen, I apologize for the disrespectful and accusatory tone the 2 council members displayed during the workshop. To the citizens, be assured, city staff has integrity, dedication, skills, knowledge, and experience. City staff, from entry level to top management, is dedicated to serve you with integrity and provide quality service at all levels. And last, I am embarrassed and disappointed this incident happened and look forward to positive change. And thank you for your time.
All right. Okay.
Willifred Hauer? No, I apologize.
That's all right.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you.
my name is Wilfred Hewer, 203 Green Oaks, Fredericksburg, Texas. First of all, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to bring our concern to the attention of the city.
Mr. Cowart, if you can raise the voice just a little bit so everyone can hear you.
Sorry.
That's all right.
My wife and I own a few rental homes within a townhouse complex on Lois Street. Most of you will know or are aware that Lois Street, the Harbor Highway, is notoriously prone to flooding. During severe thunderstorms and heavier rains, it is always being closed off. Our property is situated alongside a drainage ditch, which so far, by the grace of God, has prevented our houses from being flooded. But unfortunately, it is not adequate enough to carry the huge masses of rainwater off quickly during a heavy downpour. Consequently, the water not being able to move in time causes a significant backflow onto Lois Street, which affects not only us, but a lot of the neighbors and residents on this side of the street between the Harbor and Junction Highway. In addition, on the backside of the townhouse complex, which borders the back of the properties along the Junction Highway, there runs another small drainage ditch which carries runoff water from the Stripes gas station towards the main ditch. This little ditch is now to be dismantled because of construction on the neighboring empty lot on which there will be a strip mall with parking lot. We are obviously very concerned that this construction project will add even more water into the main ditch because it cannot seep into the soil anymore and will cause more flooding in the back of the townhouse complex, as well as due to then even increased backflow onto Lois Street. On the pictures you see, most of them were provided by one of our tenants, it shows what it looks like during a downpour. And according to official data with 1.56 inches, this wasn't even one of the major events. You can imagine what it will look like during heavier or longer lasting rainfalls. Therefore, it would be extremely urgent to address the flooding problem on Lois Street and the corresponding areas, including the Junction Highway, which had to be closed down on occasion as a result of the runoff exceeding the capacity of the main drainage ditch. Now, most of our tenants are in their 80s. And there are some other old folks living on Lois Street. Plus, we have one tenant on disability. And all these people, they shouldn't have to worry about their homes being flooded or not being able to get help in a medical emergency during a rainstorm. We are aware that you won't be able to decide anything right away, but nevertheless wanted to bring all this to your attention and certainly hope that it will be made first priority once the budget talks are successfully completed. And if the current budget allows, maybe there could be some partial improvements done, like for instance, cleaning out and deepening the main drainage ditch on the south side of the Junction Highway in order to increase the water holding capacity of the entire ditch. We really would be grateful, very grateful, for any measure that would help to alleviate a very severe situation for all the residents on this side of Lois Street. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pronounce your last name for me.
It's Heuer,
Heuer.
H-E-U-E-R.
I called you something else, sorry. But Heuer, thank you.
Can I ask a question? We're not deliberating, but just to get where we are. You said something about construction. Are we talking about construction at the old City Hall property or something else?
No, the address would be 704 Junction
Okay.
Highway.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, McElhanna?
Michael Sigerman?
Yes, my name is Michael Sigerman. I live at 4000 Comanche Trace Drive. And My comments tonight address the city manager, the city attorney, and the city staff and the conditions they work under on a daily basis. I've had the opportunity to work with all of them through the 2050 plan. I served on P&Z and worked with them. I worked with Drew on P&Z. I'm working now on the Charter Review Committee, and I've found this staff to be accommodating, professional, knowledgeable, and dedicated to do what is absolutely best for the city of Kerrville. And it's unfortunate that they have to endure some of the things that they've had to endure recently with, arguments and personal attacks, innuendos that they don't have the city's best interest at heart. There's been some campaigning going on about, replacing the city manager, replacing the city attorney. I hope that we get past this, and I hope that the citizens of Kerrville realize just how lucky we are to have this city manager, this assistant city manager, this city attorney, and all this dedicated staff that work 150% daily for the residents of Kerrville to do what's best for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Danny Almond.
Danny Allman, 3540 Trailhead Drive, Kerrville. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for this opportunity to speak. I also attended the City Council workshop last week, where the city manager was accused of lacking leadership due to some mistakes that have been made by staff over the last several years. I disagree. The city manager is the chief executive officer of the city, with several department heads reporting to him. Reporting to the department heads is the staff that made these mistakes, most of which were very minor. When these mistakes were brought to his attention, he did what any good CEO would do. He investigated how these errors occurred and has taken steps to correct the weaknesses in the city's procedures to prevent them from reoccurring. What else would you want him to do? I have had the pleasure to serve on the Ad Hoc Water Reuse Committee, the Kerrville 2050 Steering Committee, and currently the Zoning Board of Adjustment and the Code Review Committee. It has been a real pleasure to work with the city manager, city attorney, the executive director of development services, various department heads, and their staffs. Honestly, I have been surprised that a city the size of Kerrville has been able to attract such talented individuals to our town. These people are knowledgeable, innovative, and have the experience we need. The city is entering a really crucial period as growth comes our way. Now more than ever, we need exceptional people to manage our city. The city council should set policy and then let these professionals run the city. Citizens, you should be very happy that our city is being managed by such qualified professionals. I know I am. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Mackin.
My name is John Mack, and I reside at 1205 Jefferson Street with my wife. Respected members of the council, again, my name is John Mackin, and my wife and I have been members of the Kerrville community since 2014. Thank you for allowing me the time to address the council. I'm here today on behalf of myself and neighbors of the 1200 block of Jefferson Street. Our homes lie between the cross streets of Aransas and Gilmer. I'm here to address the concern of traffic and speeding within our neighborhood. My home, which I've lived in since 2016, is directly across the street from Little Safari Learning Center, which was previously the YMCA. Since my family moved into the neighborhood in 2016, the Little Safari Learning Center has seen massive growth in their clientele, leading to a current building project that has seen the addition of 2 structures. This growth has caused a massive upswing in traffic in the morning and evening hours. On a daily basis, we consistently watch cars speeding through our neighborhood at estimated speeds of 35 to 45 miles per hour. Part of this may be in part to the proximity to Main Street and the lack of stop signs heading down Jefferson Street from the east. The increased amount of traffic, however, is leading to some serious concerns. Both my neighbors, wife, and I have narrowly avoided accidents while backing from our driveways. Most importantly, however, my biggest concern is that a child is going to eventually be hit. Due to the current lack of parking for Little Safari Learning Center, the majority of their customers park on the street. The amount of cars parked on the street from 4 to 6 p.m. creates numerous visual blockades for traffic, and the number of cars exceeding safe speeds is not decreasing. Our neighborhood has essentially become a school zone without the proper enforcements. My wife and I have an 8-year-old child and are expecting another in August. Our hope is to preemptively stop a tragedy not only for our neighbors, but for the current and future children who attend Little Safari Learning Center. We humbly ask the council to be added to the agenda to consider the addition of speed bumps within our neighborhood and to consider adding stop signs on Jefferson Street from the eastward direction. Although we have noticed speeders coming from both directions, the yield signs currently in place at the intersection do nothing to dissuade free traffic from slowing down. After doing some light research, we are aware that tonight is only an initial step. If required, we have garnered enough concern within our neighborhood to provide this council with signatures from each residential house mirroring the concerns I have addressed tonight. We thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Thank you.
Martha Hicks.
Good evening. My name is Martha Hicks and I live at 922 Cypress Street. I'm here on behalf of the Bluebells. This is in regard to keeping Bluebell Road open. Kim Clarkson, who is running for city council, came to our meeting last Friday, and she said that she had spoken with Guy Overby, and he has said that the church has talked to the engineer, and they are looking into other options. And we're glad for that because that that means that they have listened to us, and we appreciate that very much. However, they are thinking about all the options, and that includes closing Cypress and still thinking about closing Bluebell Road. And so I just want to say that the Bluebell neighborhood is still vigilant and wanting to keep Bluebell Road open. And I'm just here in support of that, and thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
Walker Croft.
Hi, I'm Walker Croft, and I live at 2303 Memorial Boulevard. And I'm here in support of the problems that the Hewers we're speaking to, because I own a piece of property also on Lois Street. And I wanted to see if it was possible that you could pay attention to the problem that they mentioned, which was the fact that Lois Street floods as it is right now, and the present thing going on looks like they're going to build a large parking lot, essentially covering the whole grassy area right now. And I realized that with a little engineering, this problem could be made to go away. I'm not sure exactly what goes on where the water goes under 27 there, but it might be that we need to put some more pipes in there. It might be that it might be helpful if they made a permeable parking lot so that it wasn't taking a big grassy area and turning it into a runoff that's going to run off into a ditch that's going to backflow up into the street. It comes back now sometimes. So I'm hopeful that the city council will sort of encourage the engineers to look at the problem and people who give permits for building that kind of stuff, give some consideration to the fact there are several dozen houses up there that may turn into pieces of junk if it keeps flooding. So I get the information to you early so that we don't have to have a problem and then try to fix it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Croft.
For clarification, is this area one of the areas that we call the hotspot? It is, okay.
Yes, sir. It is an area that is identified within the current drainage master plan that we're working on right now.
So it's one of those like 11 or whatever?
Yes, sir. It is.
Specific. Okay.
All right.
That's the end of our
That's it.
speakers.
Okay. I think we have a presentation to make. I want to read this proclamation, but first I would like for the OLH team, coach, and principal, if you'll please come up this way. One thing I forgot. Let me read this proclamation. Whereas Our Lady of the Hills, the Catholic High School located in Kerrville, Texas, OLH opened in 2002 with 19 students and has since grown its enrollment to 105 as of this year. It is a Christ-centered, coeducational college preparatory high school that offers a number of varsity sports, including boys basketball. The school's boys basketball program competes in the 3A division of the Texas Association of Private and Parochial Schools as the OLH Hawks. And whereas the Hawks' 2019 basketball team won their district with an unbeaten 8-0 record. Did you hear that? Record. Finished the season 26-9 overall after defeating Midland Classical Academy 50-47 in the TAPS 3A Division State Championship game Friday, March 1, 2019 at West Texas Gymnasium. OLH's victory produced the school's second ever state championship in basketball and third consecutive trip to the championship game. And whereas Our Lady of the Hills TAPS 3A Division state champions include Travis Reed. Did I get that right? Ray. Right. Okay. All right. William Westfall, Hunter Taylor, Joaquin Vasquez, Cole Lutz. All right. I should have checked. James Ibarra, William Cummings, Samuel Cummings, Matthew Cummings, Cody Davis, Daniel Curran. Okay. Dalton Herndon, assistant coach Rose Buxton, and head coach Chris Ramirez here to my right. The team also drew support from OLH classmates, teachers, parents, friends, fans, and the great community of Kerrville. And their principal, Mrs. Schwartz, is with them here tonight. As I remember, quite a softball player? Tennis. What? Tennis. Now, therefore, I, Bill Blackburn, Mayor of the City of Kerrville, Texas, do hereby proclaim March 26, 2019 as Our Lady of the Hills State Champion Boys Basketball Team Day from the City of Kerrville, and urge all citizens to join with me on this day in honoring these student athletes and their contributions to our community. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Kerrville to be affixed hereto the 26th day of March 2019. This way, so pictures can be done. And we can't go long. Does anyone want to say anything? Let's do the pictures.
Mayor, before you let
Three more.
Coach Ramirez was named Coach of the Year in the state of Texas.
There you go.
Going to say a word, in light of his coaching prowess, and, the wins, and the relationship with his players and the school, we have decided to present a key to the city of Kerrville.
Ooh.
And one other thing, Chris, this is a replica of this key is in the ignition of a red Ferrari.
I don't remember seeing that.
We also won one in 2017.
No Ferrari. That's gonna be a Bugatti.
Just real briefly, again, I'm Coach Ramirez, and on behalf of my basketball team and our school at OLH, we just want to thank Mayor Blackburn, who I've known for many years, and there's many familiar faces here. Ms. Meismer is not just a parent at OLH, but she serves on our athletic booster club. Councilman Baruti, I've known for years. Attorney Mike Hayes is a dear friend of mine, so it's just great to be back here, and I appreciate you all making this opportunity. Mr. Conyers took many photographs at our facility, on our football field, basketball courts. He's not a stranger to our campus at all. So we're just grateful to be here. You're looking at a team of 12 young men that they're not just great basketball players, they're great young men. They're very well-rounded, come from great families. They are comprised from different parts of Kirk County and some from even from Fredericksburg and other areas. But we're just very proud to not only represent our school, but to be representing the city of Kerrville. And we get a lot of positive feedback and support from people in the community. And so, you know, in many ways we feel like we're representing more than just ourselves and our program and the name on our jerseys. We're representing our city and our community, the Hill Country. And so we're just thankful for this time you made for us. I also thought it was pretty neat that these guys get to see what transpires here on a bi-weekly basis, the protocol of how it takes place, and you know, the formalities of it all. It's a good learning experience for them as well. But I'm hopeful that these experiences shape them to be community leaders and leaders as men and you know, husbands, and just whatever role, the capacity that leads them in their future life. We hope that sports helps them, you know, in that direction, but also their faith, their family, and their community. So once again, we just thank you for this time, and I'm very humbled for the key. I truly appreciate
Hey, and I told the coach that these guys have got studies and other things, so they're going to head out here in just a minute.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, yes.
Okay.
That's nice.
I tell you, some of these presentations are just really special.
Yes,
Yeah.
awesome.
Okay. We come to the consent agenda. We only have one item on there tonight.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept the one item on our consent agenda.
I'll second.
As presented.
Okay. All right. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, let it be known by the raised hand. Okay. Now we come to the end of the consent agenda, and we come to, it says public hearing, but it's not a public hearing. It is our second reading in regard to the zoning issue related to Our Lady of the Hills. Mr. Paxton.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. If you'll read that in for us.
Ordinance number 2019-06, amending the city's zoning code by changing a portion of an existing planned development zoning district, PDD, such change to remove an approximate 23.84 acres from the PDD and consisting of lots 1 and 2, Block 1, Lot 3, Block 2, and a 7.77 acre portion out of Lot 2, Block 2. All lots being out of the OLH subdivision, said subdivision within the city of Kerrville, Kerr County, Texas. Such properties more commonly known as 235, 575, 581, and 601 Peterson Farm Road. By removing these properties from a PDD and placing each within the Airport Zoning District, AD, containing a cumulative clause, containing a savings and severability clause, providing for a maximum penalty of fine of $2,000, ordering publication, and providing other matters relating to the subject.
Okay.
Thank you. This is the second reading, as you mentioned there, and just wanted to point out to Councilman Vocal's question from the first reading that the acreage that was advertised is correct. We did include Lot 1 of Block 2 in the original description. That was not included in the zone case, so that it remains in the PD for the high school.
Any questions of council?
I think my only concern, and I mentioned it last time, is just that we do whatever we can do to deed restrict for as long as we could possibly deed restrict. Just the cocktail lounge, it's the one thing that I don't get excited about in that AD use, and I know that they're looking at it, but I'd just like to bring that up as a concern and something that needs to be put at the forefront.
And the city does not enforce deed restrictions.
I know, I understand that. So probably speaking to Mr. Strachey over there. So,
and he is available to answer questions. He is representing the seller.
Okay.
Okay.
Since Judy brought that up, I got a question. Can we put conditions on this, or is this something that we can't do?
Don't typically put conditions on zone cases unless they're conditional use or planned district development.
But we could? Is that a possibility tonight? I've heard the same comment, and that's a big concern about the cocktail lounge, and if we can do something about that now, I'd like to.
Well, I think, Bruce, you have something for us there?
Can I just ask a question? It's similar, but not exactly. Even if we don't do it here, is there something that we could have done in preparation for this to where instead of putting our faith in whoever that developer is or the salesperson, could we have applied some sort of condition? Could we have done something like that?
To address the alcohol
sales
like use?
We're dumping it all into one zone. Are we able to, do we have the authority to even single something out like that?
I think, speaking, because this is the first time I've heard this question, you'd probably have to go into that whole district, that AD district, and deal with that issue, that use within that district.
You probably have to create a separate PD.
Well, that's one way to do it, sure. Or you could go into that AD and, amend the entire district, because that's what it's, melting into.
Or you could require a conditional use permit for certain uses.
Well, but that, again, that would be an amendment to the overall zoning code.
That's right.
And certainly, if you're going to do anything tonight, my recommendation would be to read it again, because we're at the second reading, and we really need 2 readings.
All right, well, I cut him off if you were going to get a response from Bruce.
Where are we? Any more questions?
Bruce would like.
Bruce, were you going to give us a comfort level
Do you
on
have
that, like
something
you did before?
Tell us, Bruce.
No pressure.
Number of comments. I'll start out broad and come simple. First, state law has a very tight restriction on how close a cocktail lounge can be to any school, not just this school. In the
county, we're in precinct 2, which is a dry precinct, so you can't even do a cocktail lounge in this location at this time. In the city, we're applying a specific zone because it's been the practice more recently to stay away from using planned development districts, which is what we originally came with. And we picked a zone that we thought was most consistent with the area, working with staff closely. And we talked about that last time we were here. And went through it again. The applicant is willing and desirous not to have a cocktail lounge next door, and so is willing, if and when they sell the property, to deed restrict it for that use, which I believe is legal under Texas law, but that's not something regulated by the city. One of the things we have to remember when we look at things like this is it's possible none of these parcels will sell while the current owner owns the property. And while we just saw the glory and the wonder, we all have lived long enough to know that it is possible that nothing sells there in 8 years, and heaven forbid, OLH goes away and someone else owns it. Fox Tank. And so we don't have a school there. And so to do something through the zoning code that might limit a future owner, and I'm not trying to suggest there's anything going on, I'm trying to use an example of what could happen 10 years from now if something never sells and such. So this owner is willing to deed restrict the property. There's only one current parcel that wouldn't be within the 600 feet by state law right now. It is a dry precinct right now. And so I think it's a lot of talk about something that's a small issue. The applicant shares your concerns, every one of them, and they are willing to deed restrict the property. And I think I'll stop there unless there's another question.
I mean, to the dry precinct part, we do know that there's an active movement to make it wet, right?
It's been for many years.
Has been for 10 years.
But there was a pretty, concerted effort. Anyways, I wasn't not arguing the point. I'm just saying.
I agree. I was at the commissioner's court.
A lot of what ifs.
There's been several petitions over the years. I get it.
Okay. What you're saying is we're limited in what we can do tonight in regard to this. You're not saying that?
Say that.
Okay, all right.
The applicant has something before you. It is a district that's recognized by the city, and the applicant wishes to move forward with that. That's all I'm saying.
All right. But you're also saying if we vote on this on second reading tonight and it moves on down the road, you've got a buyer who's willing to look at that deed restriction.
Yes, I actually do have a buyer, and that isn't really part of this, but there is a buyer who's willing to look at that deed restriction. Yes.
Okay.
That's not an issue for me, but I'm very concerned about that, Mayor, because that's a temporal thing of this moment, and a deed that isn't a done deal or even a deal in, it's a negotiation. And so yes, I have a buyer who's currently talking about the property who isn't concerned about that deed restriction.
Okay, all right.
I would make a motion that we pass ordinance 2019-06 on second reading with the added comment that we're putting our faith in Bruce Strachey to make sure there's no cocktail lounge near it.
As long as I have the listing.
There you go.
Thank you,
Okay,
Bruce.
all right.
Thank you.
We got a motion with.
I'll second it.
Okay, and second. All in favor, let it be known by the raised hand. Okay, all right. Okay. Information and discussion, beginning with Ms. Dozier.
Good evening.
We are going to go through a brief financial update for the month ended February 28th, 2019. I'll start with the general fund. Year-to-date through February 28th, the general fund has recorded revenue of $16 million compared to expense of $10.8 million. You'll note that it's normal at this time of the year for revenue to be higher than expenditures because most property taxes are due on January 31st. And moving into our revenue analysis here, Property tax collections are ahead of 2018. They're still a little bit behind budget, but our overall tax collection rate has been stable for many years, so we think it's just a timing issue. Sales tax, our second largest revenue source, continues to be strong. Year to date, sales tax is up 4.7%, almost 5% compared to the prior year. We've seen strong increases in manufacturing, food service, and construction. Our February sales tax payment, which represents tax collected on December sales, is the largest single month tax payment that the city has ever received. We're happy to report that.
Thank you for shopping.
Yes. Shopping in Kerrville. Yes. On the expenditure side for the general fund, we continue just a little bit under budget for the year, and we've seen some budget savings on the supply line item, supplies section. Moving on to the water fund, year to date through February 28th, the water fund has received revenues of $4.4 million and compared to expenditures of $4.9 million. Notable activity on the revenue side, our water and reuse sales continue to be much lower than budget on a year-to-date basis because of the record rainfall that we received in the fall. We have seen water sales picking up lately, and we're starting to get into watering season. But we are proactively monitoring our expenditures in order to offset some of that lost revenue that did not materialize in the fall. We talked about water fund other revenue being lower than a prior year. We've talked about this just about every month. Last year we had a special one-time transfer related to our debt refinancing that did not recur this year. On the expenditure side, water expenditures are lower than 2018 and also under budget. In 2018 we had some capital project transfers that did not recur this year. But in fiscal year 19 we've seen better than budget numbers on both chemical costs and maintenance costs so far this year. Moving on to other funds, the Development Services Fund, that is a new fund that was broken out this year. Year to date through February 28th, Development Services Fund has received revenues of $471,000 compared to expenditures of $704,000. And you'll note that the revenues include transfers in and also fee revenue. And the expenditures side includes $379,000 worth of transfers out to our capital projects fund. As you know, we're making a real effort to do a lot of improvements on our development services side of things, and so we have money allocated for a code rewrite and development services software upgrade. Both of those projects are well underway. And moving on to the golf fund, the golf fund has received revenues of $279,000 compared to expenditures of $367,000. Golf has also been hit hard by the rainfall in the fall and bad weather days during the winter. Hotel Occupancy Fund year to date has received revenues of $494,000 compared to expenditures of $589,000. And you'll note that the revenue does include the audit settlement payment from Yogi Bear that council authorized. And those are my updates for the month. Are there any questions I can answer?
Got a question. In general, how are we doing in regard to debt?
Okay, so I had heard that there might be some questions about debt, so I have a few other slides that I've pulled together using some information that was already prepared this afternoon. On the debt side, looking at debt from this slide here shows net general obligation debt per capita. So this is our general fund debt that's actually paid by property taxes. This information was prepared by Hilltop Securities. They're our financial advisor, and they recommended that we compare ourselves to other AA rated cities of similar population sizes in Texas. So that's what this comparison is. You'll see Kerrville down at the bottom of the chart there, a little over $200 per capita debt on the net general obligation debt compared to Midlothian at the top that has over $2,000 worth of debt per capita. It's also interesting to note on our debt rate So our property tax rate is comprised of two parts, the maintenance and operations rate and the debt rate. This slide just shows our debt rate in comparison to some of our neighboring cities that we often do comparisons with. So you'll see that Kerrville is at the bottom there as well. And just looking at some general debt information. So Kerrville is AA rated, as the mayor referred to. And a AA rating means that the obligor has very strong capacity to meet financial commitments, and it differs only to a small degree from the highest rated AAA debt obligors. The last time the city of Kerrville had a debt rating, it was by the rating agency S&P, Standard & Poor's, and I pulled a few verbatim quotes from that analysis. So they noted that Kerrville has very strong management with strong financial policies and practice. Kerrville has strong budgetary performance with operating surpluses in the general fund, very strong budgetary flexibility, very strong liquidity, and a strong debt and contingent liability position. One thing that I think can be a little bit confusing is that the city issues a combination of tax and revenue obligations. So when we issue debt, it's called combination debt. And what that means is that debt is secured by property taxes, but it can be paid by revenue. So when we add that property tax security to our debt issuance, we're able to get a lower interest rate that way. So we're able to save the taxpayers money by getting a lower interest rate. We have multiple obligations that are issued that way but are not paid by property taxes at all. They're paid by water fund revenues, they're paid by EIC sales tax revenue, but they do have that security issued with the debt to ensure that lower tax rate. And just some financial highlights. Some of this you've seen recently with our audit presentation. So our unassigned general fund balance is $8.4 million, or 31% of operating expenditures. That's very healthy. The Government Finance Officers Association recommends at least 15%. We're well above that. Our debt remains under all legal limits, as well as under our more restrictive self-imposed limits. City Council has directed that debt service on the water fund not exceed 35% of water revenues. We're under that, budgeted at 31% this year. As you heard during our audit presentation recently, the city's pension plan 95.1% funded. On the property tax side, we continue to see growth and increased property values. We haven't had a property tax increase since 2010, and in fact, we had a property tax rate decrease in 2017. And then, as we just talked about, sales tax continues to grow at a healthy rate, and we're about 5% higher than we were for this same period in the last fiscal year. Does that answer some of your questions?
That's great. That's helpful, and I look forward to getting some printed copies as well. Now, let me ask you one. Well, there's two other questions. But one question: 25% of our budget is set aside as reserve. How are we doing on that?
That's the 31% target. So
okay,
so our stated goal is 25%, and we're a little bit above the 25% at 31%.
Okay, thank you. Just one other question. Did you learn how to do all of this at A&M?
I did, all of it.
Yay,
All right, any other questions?
Yeah, I got a couple based on kind of what he just asked. So the first slide that you showed in this extra debt thing, you talked about the per capita debt. What's the total debt that's representing in that per capita thing?
So what this per capita looks at is we have all of our general fund debt, but then we're subtracting out the portion of the general fund debt that is not paid by property taxes. So that would mean the portion that's being paid by EIC. So that's the debt for the sports complex and River Trail that EIC is supporting.
Okay, so what total debt was this graph representing? What's the dollar?
Let's see. It starts off at 56.4 million, 56.5. And this is, I pulled this, based on information that I already had available and graphs I already had done. So this is from the previous year.
Okay, but 56.5 is before or after you took out the stuff that's not property?
That's before.
So what So when we show
then
per
it-
capita less than
It goes down
500
to
or something,
5.2 million.
so this per capita dollar for city of Kerrville is really only talking about 5.2 million?
Yes, I can send you the information. And like I said, this is a year old, so we can update this for 2018, but these were the numbers that I already had prepared. We'll have to get to the rest of the CAFRs for these other cities that have their information are not available until March 31st. So as of March 31st, we'll be able to update it.
So this thing that's showing us all these other cities in comparison to Kerrville, it's really only using 5-point-something million of our total debt to represent this, right? And I understand it's labeled correctly. I'm not arguing with that. I'm just saying
Yes,
that's
sir.
what it's
So it's looking at what debt is paid using property taxes.
right.
And it's comparing it to other cities and what debt they're paying using property.
Okay, so currently in our general fund and water fund, how much debt are we carrying right now? No matter how it's being paid back.
Yeah, I can definitely send you those numbers, and they're also available in the CAFR. I think it'll get confusing if
Okay.
we start trying to go through. But,
Okay.
But yeah, starting on page 48 of the CAFR, I think
Okay.
y'all all have a copy of it, and it's available on the website as well. It'll show you that information. Also, we've just recently applied for a debt transparency star through the state comptroller's transparency program. So if you look at our website, there's a section specifically related to debt, and you'll see some information there as well, and that's updated through the end of fiscal year 18.
Okay, but suffice to say, our at least an initial number is somewhere in the $50-60 million range of debt that is out there, paid back in different ways, but that's sitting out there. And that's enough on debt. But the other question I had is has to do with sales tax, and we're stating that sales tax is up 5% over last year at this point. So, in last year, the first half of last year was underutilized or whatever. So, are we anticipating that we're going to meet the growth that we saw in sales tax the second half of last year, or are we thinking it's gonna balance out, or
Yeah,
you know what I'm
sales
saying?
taxes, as we've talked about before,
Right.
is very volatile and it's hard to predict. But I can say that last year when we saw that big drop off, that seemed to be primarily related to construction, and there had been a lot of hail damage claims and roof replacements that had boosted sales tax. Then when everyone's roofs were finished, then we saw a big drop off, and that was one of the main contributing factors. This year, I'm happy to say that we're seeing increases in multiple categories and with multiple payers. And some of our categories like manufacturing and food services are especially strong this year. And, you've seen some expansion in some of those industries as well. So it does not look like, it's a one-time occurrence, or, so far the signs look like this is something that can be sustained, because we can't identify it as, a single event that's causing it.
And we used to show this in financials when Ms. Yarber was putting them out there, the numbers of houses being built and things like that. I don't need to know what the numbers are, but are they going up? Are they flat? What are we doing right now, trend wise?
I have those numbers, and I think they are up some this year. It is something I can send you, though. I do get that from the Association of Realtors.
All right.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have any speakers?
Yes, we do. Sandra Yarbrough.
Okay.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Sandra Yarbrough, 2245 San Jacinto. Amy just kind of stole all my thunder, but I want y'all to know that the city of Kerrville is in probably the best financial shape we've ever been, and that goes back to when council about 10 years ago adopted a financial management policy. And since 2011 forward, we have maintained a fund balance of 25% or better each year. And that means if we never received another penny, we could operate for 3 months without hurting services. And I think council is to be commended as well as staff. And as far as our debt, We're well in line with that. No one likes to borrow money, but it's necessary to be progressive, and I think that everybody should be very comfortable about it. And again, congratulations to all of y'all.
Thank
Now,
you.
how long were you at the city?
34 and a half years,
And you retired in what position?
Director of Finance.
All right, okay, thank you.
Started when you were 12?
Okay,
And we have one more speaker, Michael Sigerman.
okay.
I'm gonna waive my time to speak, and you've answered all my questions in a sterling fashion.
You gonna pass?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, all right. Okay, we're not voting on the financial update. We have a monthly community improvement project report. Mr. Hoppy?
The big
Sure.
version.
Included with your packet was a listing of around 19 various projects that we've been updating you on periodically. I'm just going to go through a few of those. You may notice around town, crack seal projects have been in whether it's begun to heat up in the March time frame, and the roadway surfaces are really ideal as it's moving from the colder weather to the warmer weather. The crack size is maximized on those roadways during the month of March. Of the crack seal. So they've been very active. That's as you recall from our street maintenance program, is a very key component to prolonging the life of those roadway surfaces, because they help prevent that water intrusion from getting down to the base level, which then causes potholing and some of the other elements. So we'll be briefing you all more. Anticipate that at the now rescheduled to April street maintenance update. In addition, we also have the slurry seal project out on the street right now, so we hopefully anticipate good bids on that, and you'll be seeing that on an upcoming agenda for you, I believe. Number 6, aerial pipe bridge removal. We have had that infrastructure removed from the crossing there, just downriver from Loop 534 Bridge. Our application to Texas Water Development Board for the Disaster Recovery Fund is administratively complete, and is in the process of technical review with that entity. So we hope to hear back from them here in the next 90 to 120 days.
EA, were there any surprises when everything was removed?
No, ma'am. We're very fortunate in that we did not meet any surprises on that. Number 11, Legion Lift Station. You may have seen quite a bit of activity at Loop 534 and Highway 27, just north of that corner, kind of I guess what would be the northeast corner. There in the process, we've been going through quite a bit of utility relocation at that area, and kind of reorienting that element, clearing the land, clearing the area to go ahead and install that lift station. So we will be mobilizing that construction contractor and hopefully knocking that out here in the next 9 to 12 months. Just real quickly, because we're coming up towards the end of phase 3, but wanted to brief you on number 16, landfill permitting. We have gotten word from our consultant that has completed the administrative review process through TCQ. Now it's got to go through a little bit of technical review, but we do hope to hear back from them by the summer time frame, so that permit will be fully in place for the next 99 years. Keep you posted on that. And then number 19, in regards to the legislative effort that we are processing, Representative Andy Murr, our senator, have filed that bill. That is in committee, so we are watching it closely as it moves through the process. And we had a couple questions in regards to drainage earlier today. As we stated earlier, we are going through drainage master plan. We will add that to this list for next month.
Drainage master plan, we're looking at getting that when?
So it's in process right now. We are hoping to bring that back to the council probably in the June timeframe, I believe. I think that's when we're either getting a draft report or anticipate bringing it to council right around first part of the summer.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Be happy to answer your questions you may have.
I got a question on a couple of them. One is I guess it's number 14, the RFP for workforce housing. Are we actively doing anything with it, or is it just, or not?
We are in the process of reviewing the RFP that was previously issued from the city out to the public,
And so we're polishing that up and making sure that that is ready to go. Council decides to move forward with it if they should do so.
So we're not actively pursuing off previous council direction to just go forward with a new one?
Actually, the direction we got from the council when we discussed it last was let's proceed with Olympic Drive. Let's get that under bid so that there's more confidence that that road's actually going to be built. It'd be a more attractive project for prospects. In the meantime, what we would do is we would talk to anybody that might have an interest and make sure that we get them on our list so that when we do issue the RFP, which is, we're months away from that, but it's fairly soon, that we would, have more options as far as people that might be interested. And we have actually talked to one or two individuals that have an interest.
Okay, the other one was the Shriner Clay roundabout. This is further along than I recalled us being. So is this, it's making it sound like we've designed what we want to do and we just, and what? Where are we at on that?
All right, so we've done a preliminary concept. We've gotten some preliminary design elements to try to figure out how much land was needed for easements in that general area. And we've had discussions with those landowners. Generally have been agreeable to that. Those agreements are all certainly contingent upon council moving forward with the project, should you all decide to do so. Which would also include final design.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hoppy. All right.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Items for future agendas. In our workshop last week, we heard that tree ordinances are hard for cities to enforce and manage. I still maintain that we need to look seriously at a tree ordinance. If the natural beauty of this area is important to us, we got to look at the trees and taking care of them. So I'd like to see that on an agenda. Okay, board appointments to the Parks and Recreation Board.
Yes, sir. What we would like to do is make a recommendation that we had some.
You and Mr. Vocal?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
Oh.
No, Mr. Broody.
Mr. Broody, sorry.
Yes, and we had some absolute wonderful applicants. If I had my way, we'd expand this committee and put them all on there. We really did have some good people, and these were hard decisions to make. And I hope that the individuals, we're going to disappoint some people tonight. And I hope that those people will come back, reapply, keep their name on there so that we can utilize them. They all had something to bring to the table, and it was just a really good, it was just exciting to see that. They're all enthusiastic, and they're all willing and ready to serve. So it was just really, really fun to be able to look at this. There are 2 reappointments, so I move, we'll do this all together. We move that we reappoint Rose Bradshaw and Lisa Nye Saladin. And then we appoint new Dr. Charles Huber, Greg Peschel, Jesse Oliveira, and Wayne Ecker.
Eaker.
Excuse me.
Are any of them here tonight?
Okay, go through the new ones again.
Okay, Dr. Charles Huber, Greg Peschel, Jesse Oliveira, and Wayne Eaker.
Huber is Dean of Students
At
Shriner?
Shriner,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, he is.
Okay, with a background in athletics.
Yes, very much so.
All right. Any comments or questions in regard to those appointments?
Well, should we make them as a motion?
Yeah,
I was
we'll
gonna
make that in the form of a motion.
I will make that in the form of a motion. That you want me to read the names again there?
I think we got them, don't we?
Are we
got 'em.
okay? Okay.
And
Re-
I'll go ahead and second it, and add one other thing. They were all good candidates. They all deserve to be on it. I'm just hopeful that anybody that was not selected not only would reapply for future boards, not just parks, but would engage in the process involving parks, because that's obviously where some of their interest is. And it's an advisory board that can take advice from anywhere, not just from the chair up here. So I would encourage them all to participate in that.
Okay. All right, all in favor of this motion regarding the appointments to the Parks and Recreation Board, if you let it be known by the raised hand. And that is unanimous. All right, we've had no call for an executive session. So, at 7:10, we adjourn.